Historically, out of 132 launches, 52% launched on the first attempt. That was November 1st. It goes to 77% when it's the second attempt. That was November 5th. It goes to 90% when it's third attempt, and that's where we are now. So historically, it's 90%. Out of the 117 scrubs, 71 or 61% were technical, 46 or 39% were weather. I think we can pretty much scratch the weather issue, so now it could be some last-minute glitch or something when they go to computers or something. I've actually seen the three main engines light 6.5 seconds before and shut down. So at 4:50:24, I'll tell you it's go. Now, on the tank, the top part is where they put in the liquid oxygen. The bottom part is where they put in the liquid hydrogen. The middle, lighter section is called the inner tank. Those inner tanks have ribs around them, these like beams that come down. They're called stringers. In November, when we tried to launch, one of the scrubs was because one of the hoses that pulls away was leaking. When they went to check on the cause and the reason for the leak, they noticed right up here, around this light ring here on top, that there was like a backward question mark. So they tore away the foam from behind that because it wasn't there before, and they noticed that they're called stringers. The stringers had cracks in them. They didn't know why, so launch was postponed until the first part of December. They continued to try to come up with the root cause of the problem so they could come up with a flight rationale and justify that we could safely launch the shuttle. They could not do that. So the launch was delayed until mid-December. Meanwhile, all over the country, they're looking for the reason for why we had this problem during tanking. So ultimately, they decided we need to do another tanking test. So they put on a whole bunch of TV cameras and sensors so they could collect all this engineering data, and they did another fueling test in December. The week before Christmas, they took the shuttle off of the pad and took it back to the vehicle assembly building, which is called a rollback. In the entire history of the shuttle program, we have now had 20 rollbacks. 5 of them were for tropical storms or hurricanes. 90% of the Kennedy Space Center is a National Wildlife Refuge. So my favorite rollback was June in '95, STS-70, when a whole bunch of yellow flicker woodpeckers decided it was a tree, and they punched in 195 holes into the external tank. And it was too high up to reach on the pad. They had to roll it back and refoam it back inside, and that's your marriage between space and nature. So we rolled it back. The Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's, they x-rayed the entire tank, all the way around, all 360. The next day, we were informed they found more cracks. And then on the weekend of New Year's, they found the root cause of the problem. Why did this tank crack? This tank, ET-137, was manufactured in New Orleans in 2002. They had gone back to Michoud, now to New Orleans, which I think that's French, but it sounds like a sneeze. Michoud with Lockheed, and they went to the lot number, and they pulled out that material that made the stringers, and they found apparently during the heating process there was this mottled effect. So instead of having this solid piece of aluminum lithium, it looked like all these little air pockets in it. And they found through testing that 36% of the strength was lost because of the mottled effect. So basically, you now have a tank that is not even quite 2/3 of the strength it's supposed to be. And that came into play when they put in that super cold fuel, because that tank comes alive, it moves. And it couldn't handle the stress because it wasn't strong enough. So now that they've found the root cause, the decision was made to strengthen all of the stringers. I think they did all but 3 of them, because they were built from a different batch. And so the launch was changed from February 3rd to February 24th.